I have been scaling Facebook ads for more than 10 years now, and I can tell you that 90% of what you have been taught about scaling is not just wrong, it's actually destroying your campaigns as well. Last month, a prospect came to me spending $50,000 per month on Facebook ads. Every time they tried to scale using the traditional methods, their ROAS would collapse from 4.2 to 1.8 within days. I'm Sanidhya Baweja, and today I'm going to give you the SURF method, the exact scaling framework I use to take campaigns from $1,000 to $50,000 per day without killing performance. So if you are stuck at your current ad spend and every scaling attempt that you have done tanks your results even further, this framework will change everything. So let's dive in. Before I give you the SURF framework, let me destroy the 3 scaling myths which are very critical and might be killing your campaign, and I'm definitely sure they are killing your campaigns. So the myth 1 is the learning phase reset. Everyone says don't increase the budget more than 20% or you will reset the learning phase. According to me, this is utter bullshit. I've increased budgets by 2000% on winning creatives without any performance drop. Why? Because if a creative works, it works. Facebook's algorithm doesn't certainly forget how to optimize, right? Or people, because they are normal human beings. If the creative is resonating with them, it will resonate with them on scale as well. You have to understand this thing, that the real problem isn't the learning phase, it's the creative itself, because the creative was never strong enough to handle the scale in the first place. Then the myth 2 is never duplicate campaigns. People think duplication causes audience overlap and kills performance. They're wrong again. I duplicate winning campaigns constantly and pause the old ones only when they stop performing. Why? Because campaigns get tired, their learning gets distorted over time. A fresh duplicate with same winning creative, same audience often outperforms the original. But nowadays I'll add one more layer over here. I would try to change some caption or headline, and that works even better. Then myth 3 is it's all about audience targeting. Often Facebook gurus mention this thing that you need to find the perfect audience. There are so many videos that I have seen where people are focusing upon what's the best audience, like household income and all. It's utter bullshit. Interest targeting is just Facebook giving you a false sense of control so that you don't leave the platform. It works for like a few days and then it stops working. And for me, it never worked well. And after iOS 14.5, it's completely useless. And here's the truth. Creative is your targeting. Your message determines who converts, not Facebook's interest categories. So think about it in this way. A person who is posting organic reel or organic content, does he have that kind of a control? But he's still able to, or he's able to manage to get to the people who would be genuinely interested in his content. So what separates from a mediocre organic creator to a person who is doing exceptionally well is how well they are creating their content and how well they are resonating with the people. And the same rule applies on the ad side as well, paid media side. So basically, if all the traditional scaling advice is wrong, then what actually works? And that's where the SURF method comes in. Now I'm going to give you the SURF method, the only scaling framework you will ever need. This is the exact system I use with almost all the clients, and it has never failed when implemented correctly. And I'm saying that with the experience of running Facebook ads for last 10 years. Now this is what SURF stands for. S is surface the winners. U, unleash the budget. R, replicate and refresh. F stands for flood with creatives. Each step builds on the previous one, and skipping steps is why most people fail at scaling. Now let me break down each concept. Think of it like actual surfing. You can't just paddle out and ride any wave. You need to surface. What that means is find the right wave. Then unleash. What that means is commit fully when you catch it, like aggressive budget scaling. Then replicate, ride similar waves, duplicate what works, and then finally flood. And that means stay in the water with multiple boats, creative volume. This isn't theory, this is the exact process I have used to scale hundreds of campaigns, and let me show you how each step works. So first of all, we'll start with surface the winners, which is S. Most people scale the wrong campaigns because they don't know how to identify the real winners. And that's a very basic problem, but it is very real. And therefore, I have created a winner identification formula which you can use in order to find the winners. A winning creative must have all these 3 early indicators. First one is strong early metrics, which are CPC should be below your account average, CTR should be about 2%, hook rate should be about 30%, right? So these are the early metrics which you have to keep an eye on. The second one is creative doesn't tank when you increase the budget, and it maintains the performance during the initial light scaling tests. And finally, the third one, which is ROAS is consistent and above your break-even point, or much above your break-even point, I'll say, because when you scale, the ROAS will drop. But there's one caveat over here, which is that you need to know your real performance, not just what Facebook shows you. And this is where most people get it wrong. See, Facebook will show you a ROAS that is totally different from the original one. For example, it will show you a ROAS of 2.4, but your actual ROAS could be 3.8. And that happens because of a lot of reasons: iOS tracking limitation, wrong pixel implementation, and a lot of other reasons. Therefore, you need to have a first-party data attribution tool like Tracosity in order to find actual winners. And that's why the first step in SURF method, it's always setting up proper attribution tracking. Now, I use Tracosity because I created Tracosity, and it shows me performance of all the campaigns in real time, right? And that's basically real data. Now, once you identify genuine winners, not Facebook's version of winners, you move to step 2. Now the common mistake which I've seen is that people are trying to scale the campaigns which have just a break-even ROAS or just above the break-even ROAS, and you don't have to do that, right? Because they think it's close enough, so they do it. It's wrong. Surface only the campaigns or use only the campaigns that are giving you significant ROAS. Okay. Now the quick test over here is, if you wouldn't put your own money into scaling this campaign, don't scale it for your client as well. And if you are yourself running your own Facebook ads, I don't think you have that much amount of courage to put your money over there. Then we move on to unleash the budget. This is where I do the exact opposite of what everyone teaches. Now the traditional advice which you must have heard from any Facebook ads guru or even Facebook ads representatives also, which is increase budget by 20% daily. Well, my method is, if it's a real winner, scale aggressively immediately. It doesn't matter, to be very honest. And here's how I actually scale budgets. Day 1, I identify the winner, and if I identified the winner, then and the budget is $100 per day, then on day 2 what I'll do is increase it to $500 per day. And if the performance still holds, then on day 3 I go up to $1,500 per day, which is 3x increase. Then on day 4, if performance still holds, then I go to $5,000 per day. Now you must be thinking, but Sanidhya, won't this kill the campaign? Well, no, because of one simple principle. Now this method is by Tim Bird. Okay, so Tim Bird's surfing method is, if a creative is genuinely strong, it can handle massive budget, so increase it. Okay, if it can't, it was never a real winner, and you were under the false impression that this is the real winner. And you have to identify what are the real winners and what are not the real winners by implementing tools like Tracosity. That's what you have to do. I've literally taken campaigns from $200 per day to $10,000 per day overnight without any performance drop. The key is making sure you have identified a genuine winner in step 1. That's why I'm so much emphasizing on first-party data attribution tools. Here's the psychological shift that you need in order to do so. Stop being scared of breaking your campaigns. Aggressive scaling breaks it, and it was going to fail anyway. Better to find fast and move on to the real winners. Now, this is the budget scaling rule that I usually do. If the ROAS drops by more than 20%, if I'm scaling after scaling, I pause and duplicate. I don't try to fix it, or I don't wait. Okay, that's what I do. So I move very, very, very fast. Well, there are always exceptions to this rule, but 90% of the time, this is what I do. Then finally, we move on to R, which is replicate and refresh. Now, this is my secret weapon, and that's why I move on quickly, right? Because I know that I have so many creatives to test that some of them will work. And my hit rate is approximately 50%, which is much higher than industry standard. Now, here's what I do with every winning campaign. When I have a strong winner, I duplicate the entire campaign with the identical settings while keeping the original campaign running. Now, you'll ask me, why duplicate if it's still working? See, there are 2 reasons. First, it gives me more volume immediately, right? Second, it's insurance. If the original campaign starts declining, which many times it does, I already have a fresh duplicate ready, or vice versa. I only pause the original campaign if it stops performing. If both are working, I run both of them. More budget on winners equal more results. Also understand this thing. Touch points are responsible for conversions, not audience overlap. So if a lot of audiences are getting triggered or getting targeted by multiple campaigns, it's good for you, because then you are having multiple touch points, and only after having multiple touch points, people will convert. Now, my duplication strategy goes like this. Duplicate every winner after 3 to 5 days of strong performance. Run both the versions simultaneously and only pause if one starts underperforming. And then scale whichever version performs better. Now, this gives you unlimited scaling potential without killing what's already working, and this is the most lazy or the frugal way to scale. Now, pro tip over here is, when duplicating, change the campaign name slightly, right? You have to. And also, while duplicating, change the caption also. Don't be that lazy, which I already mentioned when I was discussing over something else, but you have to keep that in mind. Basically, changing the naming convention helps you track the, versions better in your Excel sheet and everything, but also it helps you lot, with the captions. It helps you trick the algorithm in a way that they start treating it as a fresh creative, and it starts working much better. That's what we have seen nowadays. Now, step 4 is flirt with creatives, and this is where you separate yourself from 94% of advertisers. And now you will know why I move so fast. So after Andromeda's rollout, creative lifespan has dropped from 80 days to just 4 to 7 days maximum. Most people test 1 to 2 creatives per month, and that's advertising suicide. And especially after Andromeda, that's basically just shooting yourself in the foot and you're just burning money. Now, here's my creative flooding system. So on week 1, we launch with 5 creative variations. On the week 2, add 10 new creative angles. And then week 3, add 15 new creatives based on the winners. Then on week 4, we add 20 new creatives. So basically, it's a continuous cycle. That's what we are doing. But here's the key. This isn't random creative testing. It's systematic creative flooding based on winning patterns. I try to brief in more of the ones that are working and try to stay farther away from the ones that aren't. See, every creative with us gets documented. The hook type, the question, statement, story, visual style, person to camera, graphics, text overlay, who was writing this particular ad, and a lot of other things. We track everything. We see whether it was a problem solution angle or which angle, past framework, hero framework, which framework was there. We try to capture everything. And And then after analyzing all the data, I flood the market with variations of what works and why is it working. If personal story hooks work much more, then I create 10 different personal story hooks. If problem focused angles work more, then I flood with problem variations. Now the creative flooding rule which I follow over here is never let frequency go above 2.5 on any creative. When it is hitting 2.5, pause immediately and launch fresh creatives. Only if the CPA is also dropping. If CPA is fine and your frequency is above 9, no worries, because that means that kind of a creative or that kind of a product needed this much amount of touch points. Now let me show you Surf in action with a real client example. So the starting point of this particular client was $30,000 per month, and this was their monthly spend. Then they were getting a ROAS of 2.1. Now week 1 was Surface. So we set up Tracosity and attribution tracking settings for them, and we discovered that the real ROAS which they are getting is 3.4, not 2.1. We identified 2 genuine winners out of 8 campaigns that they were running, so we paused all the other campaigns and we just started dedicating all the budget towards only those 2 campaigns. And we identified the ads as well inside those particular campaigns, and that's helpful for us to create more winning angles. Then week 2 was Unleash. Over here we scaled the winner from inside those 2 campaigns from $200 per day to $2,000 per day, because they were massively underspending. And we scaled the winner number 2 campaign from $150 per day to $1,500 per day. So the total spend increased to $45,000 per month, and the ROAS was still at 3.6. Now week 3 we replicated. Now inside those 2 campaigns we knew what ads were working, and we duplicated those ads inside the same campaigns. Since the original ones stopped giving us results, so we just ran the fresh duplicates and we paused the older ones. New duplicates gave us the performance of 4.1 ROAS, and we scaled the duplicates to $75,000 per month total spend. Then week 4 was flooded with creatives. So we knew what creatives were working. We launched 20 new creative variations inside those 2 campaigns. We maintained the ROAS of 4.2 while scaling. Also, both the campaigns were on ABO. Therefore, we were able to rapidly increase the budget as well, because we were equally spending budget on all the ads which were there, not just basing it on the notoriously famous thing which Facebook does, that spending only on one ad. So we were doing ABO, so we were able to allocate the budget uniformly. By doing so, we reached to a monthly spend of $100,000. So these were the results after 30 days. The spend increased from $30,000 per month to $100,000 per month. The ROAS, which was 2.1, got to 4.2. There were 8 campaigns which were there with a lot of ads, so we simplified the structure and we moved on to only 2 campaigns. Both the campaigns were a mixed bag of scaling as well as experimentation. It was not like that one campaign was for scaling and one campaign was for testing. When you are inheriting accounts, you have to understand this thing that you can't simplify the structure after a certain point, and you have to improvise it. And that's the reason why I couldn't put structure that I am usually promoting, which is a scaling campaign and a creative testing campaign. We had a mixed bag of both, but we simplified the structure and we got the account from 8 campaigns to 2 campaigns. The creative output, which was 2 creatives per month, it became 20 creatives per week. And the key was, we didn't gradually scale over months. We aggressively implemented Surf method and achieved results in just 30 days. Now this is what is possible when you stop following outdated scaling advices and use a systematic framework. Okay, now here's how to implement Surf starting today for yourself. Now go to your Facebook Ads Manager right now, identify the campaigns with consistent ROAS above break even, significantly above break even for the last 7+ days. If you can't identify clear winners, you are not ready to scale yet. So focus more on creative testing and figuring out which one will work. Then move on to Unleash, which is take your best performing campaigns and double the budget tomorrow itself. Not 20% increase, just double it. And when I say increase the budget of the campaign, I mean increase the budget of the ad. So depends upon whether you're running it on ABO or CBO. I would prefer it on ABO so that you can allocate the budget homogeneously. Now if the performance holds, then double again in 48 hours. Then you move on to replicate. Duplicate your winning campaigns with identical settings, run both versions and pause whichever performs worse after 48 hours. And if both of them are performing, mazel tov, let them run. And then you will have an ongoing process, which is flood, which is in the background create 5 new creative variations this week based on your winning creative patterns and document everything. Now, if you want us to implement the complete Surf framework for you, or you want consultation regarding it, then there is an audit call link in the description. It's a paid audit call. We'll analyze your account and tell you how to implement Surf scaling for yourself. That's all. But remember, Surf only works with accurate data. You need to know your real performance, not Facebook's incomplete picture. And that's where Tracosity becomes essential. So go ahead, check out tracosity.io. Okay. And start collecting first-party attribution data and rely on that. Now take a lot of audit calls. Last month, I took 200 audit calls. Out of those, 94% were doing horribly wrong and 6% were doing really good. Now, if you want to know what those 6% were doing and what's my money framework in order for you to become that 6%, then click this link of this video. Okay? Yeah, you would know and you would become that 6%.